I want you to look around for a moment. Most people are sleepwalking through life. They settle. They compromise. They convince themselves that good enough is acceptable. But let me tell you something, good enough is the death of greatness, and you are not here to be average. You are here to break through, to rise, to live at a level most people never even taste. I ain't average. Say it, feel it, let it burn inside you, because average means you buy into excuses. Average means you stop at obstacles. Average means you let fear dictate your destiny, and you were not born for that. Life does not reward the average. It rewards the obsessed, the relentless, the people who refuse to quit when everyone else taps out. Average people look at problems and say, it's too hard. But you look at those same problems and say, watch me. There's a difference between people who live a life of regret and people who build a life of legacy. That difference is focus, hunger, and refusal to settle. When everyone else is comfortable, you've got to get uncomfortable. When everyone else is coasting, you've got to push harder. When everyone else is playing small, you've got to go bigger. Your mind is your weapon, and average minds are sloppy, undisciplined, scattered, but not yours. You choose to train it. You choose to feed it with belief, with vision, with unstoppable certainty. Because the second you accept average, you're handing away your future. You want more. You want to be more. Then you've got to demand more of yourself. You've got to make a decision right here, right now, that average is not in your vocabulary. That from this day forward, every action, every choice, every habit you build screams, I ain't average. Listen to me, average doesn't get remembered. Average doesn't inspire. Average doesn't create change, but extraordinary does. And extraordinary begins when you stop apologizing for wanting more, when you stop waiting for permission, when you stop shrinking to fit in. You don't fit in, you stand out, you rise up, you push forward, you dominate. You're not here to take what life gives you. You're here to take what you decide you're worthy of. Say it again, I ain't average. Say it louder, I ain't average. Now own it, live it, prove it. Every single day, in everything you do, because the world doesn't need more average, it needs wow you at your full power. Average is the enemy of greatness. Refuse to settle for good enough. Every day people talk themselves into believing that average is acceptable, that living at a mediocre level is somehow the safer choice, the smarter choice, the path of least resistance. But deep down they know it's not where their soul wants to be. Deep down they feel the pull, that restlessness, that hunger that whispers to them that they were made for more. You know that voice because you've heard it too, and it doesn't go away no matter how much you try to silence it. The truth is, average will never satisfy you because your spirit was not designed to be average. You were built with potential. You were wired with capacity. And settling is like putting chains on your own greatness. Good enough is dangerous because it convinces you to stop when you should push, to settle when you should rise, to accept crumbs when a feast is waiting for you. People around you might say, that's fine, that's enough, you've done okay. But you know deep inside that okay is not the standard. Okay is a slow death. Good enough is the language of people who have given up, who have traded passion for comfort. But you can't afford to trade your fire for safety because the cost of playing small is always higher than the cost of taking a risk. Greatness is not a gift handed to the chosen few. It's the reward for those who decide that average is unacceptable. Greatness is forged in decisions and habits, in the way you show up every single day. It's built when you choose to go the extra mile, when you do the work no one else wants to do, when you stay consistent while everyone else quits. And the difference between the average and the great is rarely talent, it's mindset. Average people look at challenges as roadblocks. Great people look at them as stepping stones. Average people talk about their dreams. Great people execute on them. Average people complain about time. Great people make time serve them. Every single breakthrough in history was created by someone who refused to live average. Every innovation, every movement, every transformation that changed the world came from a person who looked at good enough and said, not for me. And in your own life, it will be no different. You will never be remembered for what you settled for. You'll only be remembered for what you demanded of yourself when it was easier to compromise. Look at the athletes who dominate, the leaders who inspire, the creators who build legacies. None of them got there by accepting good enough. They pushed when they were tired. They believed when no one else did. They showed up when the average person would have stayed home. They didn't just want to win. They demanded it of themselves. They made it non-negotiable. And that's the difference you must choose if you want to cross the line into greatness. The temptation to be average is always there. It's in the voice that tells you to hit snooze, to skip the workout, to cut corners, to say, I'll do it later. It's in the pressure from people around you who are uncomfortable with your ambition because it makes them reflect on their own complacency. But you can't let the voices of average drown out the call of your destiny. You've got to silence the noise and lock in on your standard. Your standard must be higher than comfort, higher than convenience, higher than what the majority accepts. Your standard must scream that you are here to give everything you've got, not half, not almost, but all of it. Settling for average is like putting a lid on your potential. Imagine pouring water into a glass and stopping halfway when the pitcher is still full. That's what people do with their lives when they stop short of their capacity. They walk around with half-filled glasses, wondering why they feel empty, wondering why they feel restless. And it's because they didn't pour it all out. They didn't use what they had. They settled for less than what was possible. Don't let that be your story. Don't walk through life half empty. Pour it all out. You might think greatness is about massive moments, about one big breakthrough, but it's really about daily decisions to refuse average. It's the choice to show up with energy, to give more than expected, to challenge yourself when you want to coast. It's saying no to shortcuts, no to excuses, no to the temptation of being like everyone else. It's deciding that if something has your name on it, it's going to be excellent. It's going to reflect the standard of someone who refuses to settle. When you look at the clock and you think you've given enough, give more. When you feel like stopping, keep going. When the voice says, that's fine, you've done enough, you respond with, oh, no, I'm not done until it's excellent. That's how you separate yourself from the crowd. That's how you go from being just another person in the room to being the one who stands out, the one who leads, the one who sets the tone. Average people drift. They live reactive lives, waiting for opportunities to come to them. Great people create opportunities. They go after what they want with intensity. They don't wait for permission. And every time you choose greatness over average, you strengthen your belief, you build momentum, and you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. The truth is, being average doesn't take effort. Anyone can do it. It takes no courage, no risk, no vision. But if you're listening to this, if you've ever felt that spark inside of you, then you know you weren't made for an average life. You weren't designed to just survive. You were designed to thrive, to expand, to push, to create, to lead. That's why average feels uncomfortable to you, why it leaves you unsatisfied, because you know deep down that there is more in you and you will never rest until you unleash it. So never settle, never compromise, never let the comfort of average rob you of the extraordinary life you were born to live. Refuse to settle for good enough because good enough is the enemy of great and you were born for great. Extraordinary results come from relentless focus, hunger, and discipline. Success is never an accident. It is the byproduct of consistent intention and execution. People often look at someone who has achieved extraordinary things and think they got lucky or they had some kind of special gift or maybe the universe just opened doors for them. But if you strip away the excuses, what you find every single time is focus, hunger, and discipline working together to create results that most people never touch. Focus is the ability to eliminate distractions, to channel your energy into what matters most. Without focus, talent is wasted, time is squandered, and potential is left unrealized. Think about how many people drift through their days, pulled in 100 directions, busy but not productive, constantly distracted by noise, entertainment, gossip, and fear. They are working, yes, but their energy is scattered, their vision is blurred, and so their results remain average. Extraordinary people understand that what you focus on expands, and so they are ruthless with their attention. They direct it like a laser beam, cutting through excuses, ignoring temptations, and aligning every action with their vision. Hunger is the fire inside, the insatiable desire to achieve, to grow, to push past limitations. Without hunger, focus dies quickly, and discipline becomes punishment instead of power. Hunger is what makes you get up earlier, stay up later, push through fatigue, and keep going when others have stopped. It's the spark that turns effort into obsession, the fuel that transforms obstacles into challenges you welcome instead of walls that stop you. Hunger is what makes extraordinary results possible because average effort will never produce extraordinary outcomes. The level of your results will always match the level of your hunger. If you want more, you've got to want it more deeply, more urgently, more consistently than anyone else. Discipline is the bridge between your hunger and your results. It's the daily commitment to action, the refusal to negotiate with excuses, the structure that keeps you moving forward when your feelings try to pull you back. Discipline is not about perfection, it's about consistency. It's showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's doing the work when the excitement has faded, when no one is watching, when the reward isn't immediate. Discipline is how you prove to yourself that your hunger is real, that your focus is true, that your vision is more than just talk. Without discipline, hunger burns out and focus gets hijacked. With discipline, hunger grows stronger and focus gets sharper. When focus, hunger, and discipline collide, extraordinary results are inevitable. This is the formula behind every great achievement in sports, business, art, leadership, and personal transformation. Look at the champions who dominate their fields. They weren't always the most talented, but they were the most focused, the hungriest, and the most disciplined. Look at the innovators who reshaped industries. They weren't always the smartest, but they were relentless in their focus, insatiable in their hunger, and consistent in their discipline. Look at the leaders who moved nations. They weren't always the most powerful at the start, but they grew unstoppable through focus, hunger, and discipline that multiplied over time. Focus without hunger becomes stale. Hunger without discipline becomes wasted. Discipline without focus becomes robotic and empty. But when you combine them, you unleash a force that makes you unstoppable. Imagine a person who knows exactly what they want, refuses to be distracted, burns with hunger for it, and disciplines themselves daily to take action. How can they fail? Even if they stumble, even if they fall, they get back up, they adjust, they adapt, and they keep moving because their system won't allow them to quit. Extraordinary results are not about one moment of brilliance. They are not about a single big break. They are the accumulation of small daily choices rooted in focus, hunger, and discipline. The world sees the glory, the highlight reel, the awards, the recognition. But what they don't see are the hours of practice when no one was watching, the sacrifices made in silence, the countless times discipline overruled distraction. Extraordinary is built in the shadows long before it shines in the light. Focus requires saying no more than you say yes. It requires eliminating the good so you can pursue the great. It requires clarity about what matters most and the courage to cut out everything else. Hunger requires you to never be satisfied, to chase progress every day, to expand your vision the moment you reach one goal so you can stretch toward the next. Discipline requires training your body and mind to act according to your purpose, not your moods. Put them together and your results won't just be better, they'll be unrecognizable compared to where you started. The average person spreads their energy too thin, feeds their hunger with cheap substitutes, and abandons discipline the moment it feels inconvenient. That is why their results stay average. Extraordinary people guard their focus like treasure, feed their hunger with vision and purpose, and master discipline like a craft. That is why they rise. That is why they separate themselves from the crowd. That is why their results inspire and their legacy lasts. If you want extraordinary, you can't afford to live with average habits. You can't afford to let your focus be stolen by meaningless distractions. You can't afford to let your hunger die out in the comfort zone. You can't afford to let discipline slip whenever life gets uncomfortable. Every day you are making choices that either fuel your greatness or feed your mediocrity. Every action is a vote for who you want to become. Relentless focus, hunger, and discipline are not glamorous. They are not always exciting, but they are powerful and they work. They are the difference between a life that blends in and a life that stands out, between average results and extraordinary impact. And once you taste what extraordinary feels like, once you see the power of living with focus, hunger, and discipline, you will never want to go back to average. Obstacles are not stop signs, they are proving grounds. Most people see a challenge and immediately label it as a barrier, something that halts their progress and signals that they should turn back. But the truth is, obstacles are not there to stop you. They are there to reveal you. They test your hunger, your persistence, your ability to adapt, your willingness to keep pushing when things get hard. Without obstacles, there is no strength built, no resilience developed, no greatness forged. Every obstacle you face is not blocking your path. It is shaping your path, preparing you for the weight of the results you are chasing. When you look at people who have accomplished extraordinary things, you might think their lives were a straight line to success. But in reality, their journeys were filled with obstacles, setbacks, failures, and moments of doubt. What separates them from everyone else is not the absence of challenges, but their response to them. Average people see an obstacle and they retreat, they complain, they use it as proof that the goal wasn't meant for them. Extraordinary people see the exact same obstacle and decide it as an opportunity to grow stronger, to sharpen their skills, to build the endurance required to hold on to success once they achieve it. Every time you face resistance, you are being given a choice. You can interpret it as rejection, or you can interpret it as refinement. You can see it as something in your way, or you can see it as something that will make you better. When you hit a wall, you can stop, or you can climb, break through, or find another way. That choice defines everything. Your future is not determined by the size of the obstacles in your path, but by the size of your determination to move through them. Think about the strongest muscles in the body. They were not built by comfort, they were built by resistance. The heavier the weight, the more force you need to push against it, and over time, that resistance makes you stronger. Life works the same way. Every obstacle is resistance training for your character, for your mindset, for your capacity to lead, create, and endure. Without it, you remain weak, untested, and average. With it, you grow into someone capable of carrying greatness. Obstacles also serve as filters. They separate the interested from the committed, the talkers from the doers, the ones who kind of want it from the ones who will not stop until they get it. The obstacle asks you a question, how bad do you want this? And your actions answer it. If you turn back, you never really wanted it. If you push forward, you prove to yourself and the world that your vision matters, that your purpose is real, that you are not someone who backs down when things get tough. Some people spend their entire lives avoiding obstacles, searching for the easy road, the shortcut, the path of least resistance. And what do they get? A life of mediocrity, a life of regret, a life where they never discover what they are truly capable of. Others embrace obstacles as the very thing that will shape them. They don't wish for things to be easier. They demand that they become better. They welcome the challenge because they know every challenge carries with it the seed of transformation. Obstacles are not designed to kill your dream. They are designed to test your commitment to it. If every goal you had was easy to achieve, you would take it for granted, it would mean nothing. It would not transform you. It is the struggle, the fight, the resistance that gives value to the victory. The harder the climb, the greater the view from the top. The more pain you endure, the deeper the pride in what you've built. The longer the battle, the sweeter the win. When you hit obstacles, emotions rise. Fear, frustration, doubt, anger. Most people let those emotions control them. They let fear paralyze them. They let frustration drain their energy. They let doubt convince them to quit. But the extraordinary person feels all those same emotions and still acts. They don't deny the difficulty. They don't pretend the obstacle isn't hard, but they refuse to let the obstacle dictate their future. They take the emotion and channel it into drive, into resourcefulness, into grit. Obstacles are not stop signs. They are instructions. They are signals pointing you toward areas you need to strengthen, skills you need to learn, strategies you need to change. If you can't get through one way, you figure out another. If you fall down, you rise with more wisdom than before. Every obstacle carries feedback, and the people who learn from that feedback grow while everyone else stays stuck. The obstacle becomes the teacher, the lesson, the stepping stone towards something greater. History is filled with stories of people who turned obstacles into launching pads. The greatest inventions came from limitations. The greatest leaders were forged in crisis. The greatest victories were born in the face of overwhelming odds. They didn't happen in spite of the obstacles. They happened because of them. Without the resistance, those people never would have unlocked their full potential. Without the struggle, their greatness would have stayed dormant. You might be facing an obstacle right now that feels impossible, that feels like it's blocking everything you want. But ask yourself, what is this obstacle demanding of me? More patience, more courage, more creativity, more resilience. Whatever it is, that's the very thing you need to level up to prepare for the next stage of your journey. If you give up, you lose not only the goal, but the growth. If you push through, you gain both. Obstacles are the price of admission for anything extraordinary. They are the toll you pay to enter the territory of greatness. You don't get to bypass them. You don't get to skip the line. You pay in persistence, in sacrifice, in sweat, in time. And if you're willing to pay, the reward is not just the goal itself, but the person you become on the way to it. So the next time you see an obstacle, don't curse it, don't fear it, don't run from it. Recognize it for what it is, a proving ground, a chance to rise, a chance to demonstrate your hunger, your resilience, your capacity to endure, a chance to separate yourself from the average who quit when it gets hard. Because while the average stop at obstacles, the extraordinary rise through them. Average blends in, but greatness demands you stand out. Most people spend their lives trying to fit in, trying to be accepted, trying not to rock the boat. They think safety is found in conformity, that if they do what everyone else does, they'll be protected from criticism, judgment, or failure. But fitting in is the enemy of standing out, and nothing extraordinary has ever been created by someone who blended into the background. Greatness requires you to be bold enough, brave enough, and relentless enough to be different. When you blend in, you give up your uniqueness. You bury your voice, your vision, your creativity under the weight of trying to be like everyone else. You trade authenticity for approval, and in doing so, you rob yourself and the world of the gift you were meant to bring. Standing out requires courage because it means you will be misunderstood, criticized, even rejected. But every person who has left a mark on history, every person who has lived a life of impact chose to stand out instead of blending in. Average people play small because they fear judgment. They worry what others will think. They try to minimize themselves so they don't make anyone uncomfortable. But greatness has never been about making people comfortable. Greatness challenges, it stretches, it forces people to confront possibilities they didn't believe were real. When you choose to stand out, you become a mirror for others. Some will be inspired, some will be threatened, but all will be impacted. Standing out doesn't mean being loud for the sake of attention. It means being unapologetically you. It means living in alignment with your highest standard, not shrinking your dreams to fit someone else's expectations. It means refusing to compromise your values just to be accepted. It means expressing your vision even when others don't see it yet because you believe in it enough to lead with it. Think about the people who inspire you most. They didn't blend. They didn't blend in. They didn't hide their uniqueness. They didn't wait for permission. They stood out. They spoke differently, acted differently, worked differently. They didn't care if people thought they were crazy, too ambitious, too intense, too much. In fact, they leaned into those very things because they knew that standing out was the only way to make a difference. When you blend in, you disappear, you become invisible, replaceable, forgettable. When you stand out, you become memorable. You create impact, you create legacy, you create change. The world doesn't celebrate those who follow the crowd. It celebrates those who step out of the crowd and lead. Standing out requires you to embrace discomfort. It means saying no when everyone else says yes, and yes when everyone else says no. It means chasing goals that others don't understand, making sacrifices others aren't willing to make, and taking risks that others are too afraid to face. It means living at a higher standard, demanding more of yourself, and not settling for the mediocrity that makes most people feel safe. Blending in feels easier in the moment, but it costs you your future. You cannot live an extraordinary life while trying to be ordinary. You cannot achieve greatness while trying to be like everyone else. You cannot make history if you're too busy following it. To stand out, you must decide that your vision is more important than their approval, that your potential is more important than their opinions, that your destiny is more important than their comfort. People will always have something to say when you stand out. They'll call you arrogant, obsessed, unrealistic. But that's because your presence forces them to confront their own choices. Your hunger exposes their complacency. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your results expose their lack of effort. Don't shrink to protect their comfort. Don't dim your light to make others feel better about living in the dark. Stand out so brightly that you light the way for those ready to rise with you. Greatness is not found in following the script society hands you. It is found in rewriting it. It is found in daring to take a path that doesn't exist yet and carving it with your own hands. It is found in being bold enough to be first, to be different, to take the risk of failure in order to achieve the possibility of greatness. Blending in might make you liked, but standing out will make you legendary. The people who fit in are forgotten, but the people who stand out leave footprints on the world. They are remembered not because they were safe, but because they were significant. Standing out is a daily choice. It is choosing to go all in when others are half-hearted. It is choosing to push for excellence when others settle for average. It is choosing to take responsibility when others look for excuses. It is choosing to live fully alive instead of half asleep. Every day you have the chance to blend in or to stand out, and that choice shapes your destiny. You are not designed to be average. You are not created to blend into the background. You are created with gifts, with talents, with passions that no one else has in the same combination. To hide them is to waste them. To suppress them is to deny the world of the impact only you can bring. Standing out is not just about you. It's about the people who will be changed because you had the courage to rise above average. So stop chasing approval. Stop watering down your vision. Stop dimming your fire. You are not here to blend in. You are here to stand out. You are here to be different, to be bold, to be great. And the moment you embrace that truth, the moment you decide that blending in is no longer an option, is the moment you unlock the path to greatness. Every decision, every habit, every action must declare I ain't average. Greatness is not built in one single moment of glory. It is constructed in the small, often invisible choices you make day after day. People often wait for a big break, a defining opportunity, a dramatic turning point. But the truth is, who you become is determined by what you repeatedly do. Your actions are your identity, your habits are your future, and your decisions are the proof of whether you are living as average or extraordinary. Average people make decisions based on convenience, on how they feel in the moment, on what costs them the least. Extraordinary people make decisions based on their vision, their values, and their commitment to excellence. Average people let their habits be controlled by impulse. Extraordinary people design their habits to serve their destiny. Every single choice is a declaration of who you are becoming. When you cut corners, you're saying you're okay with average. When you give your all, even in the smallest of tasks, you're saying you are committed to greatness. Habits are the building blocks of your future. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. If your habits are sloppy, distracted, inconsistent, your results will be average at best. But if your habits are disciplined, focused, consistent, then your results will compound into something extraordinary. Look at any high performer in any field, and you will see a pattern of habits that seem small but add up to massive success over time. The way they start their morning, the way they train their body, the way they sharpen their mind, the way they manage their time, all of it is intentional. All of it is a declaration that they are not average. Action is where the separation really happens. Talk is easy, dreams are cheap, and intentions mean nothing without action. The average person talks about what they want, they imagine it, they wish for it, but they never consistently act on it. The extraordinary person executes. They move forward even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient, even when they don't feel ready. They understand that imperfect action beats perfect intention every time. Action is the proof that you truly mean what you say, that your commitment is more than just words. When you stack decisions, habits, and actions together, you create momentum. Momentum is what carries you through when motivation fades. Momentum is what makes success feel inevitable, because every small step compounds into bigger and bigger results. Average people never build momentum because they are inconsistent. They start and stop, they commit and quit, they live in cycles of temporary enthusiasm, followed by long stretches of stagnation. Extraordinary people stay consistent long enough for momentum to build, and once it does, it becomes a force that drives them forward faster than they imagined. Every decision you make sends a signal to yourself about who you are. When you choose discipline over distraction, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who values growth. When you choose effort over excuses, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who doesn't settle. When you choose action over procrastination, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who creates results. Over time, these signals create your identity, and your identity shapes your destiny. There will always be moments where you're tempted to compromise, moments where the easy option is to slack off, to do less, to justify mediocrity. These are the defining moments because the choice you make in them speaks louder than anything else. Do you give in and blend into the average, or do you rise and prove that your standard is higher? Greatness is not just about what you do when it's easy, it's about what you do when it's hard. That's where character is revealed. Think about the difference between someone who shows up at 80% versus someone who shows up at 100%. On any given day, the difference might not look huge, but over weeks, months, and years, the gap becomes enormous. The average person lives in that 80% zone, always holding back a little, never fully committed. The extraordinary person lives at 100%, and because of that, their results compound into something the average person can never reach. Your habits are not neutral. They are either pulling you closer to greatness or pushing you closer to mediocrity. Every time you repeat a behavior, you cast a vote for the type of person you are becoming, a vote for average or a vote for extraordinary. That's why small habits matter so much. Waking up with discipline, training your body with intensity, feeding your mind with growth, managing your time with intention, keeping your promises to yourself. These may not feel dramatic in the moment, but they are how you cast vote after vote for the identity of someone who ain't average. Extraordinary people live with intentionality. They don't stumble through their days reacting to whatever happens. They decide how they will live, how they will work, how they will lead. They don't leave it up to chance. They understand that excellence is not accidental. It is deliberate. They know that greatness doesn't show up one day out of nowhere. It is built brick by brick, choice by choice, habit by habit. This is why accountability matters. The average person hides from accountability because it exposes their lack of discipline. The extraordinary person embraces accountability because it sharpens their discipline. They surround themselves with people who demand more of them, who push them higher, who refuse to let them settle. They track their progress, measure their actions, and stay honest with themselves about whether their daily choices align with the identity they claim to live by. The extraordinary are not perfect, but they are consistent. They fall, but they rise quickly. They fail, but they learn and adjust. They get tired, but they keep moving anyway. Every action they take reinforces the standard they live by. They don't let mistakes define them. They let actions refine them. Living with the declaration of I ain't average is not about shouting it. It's about proving it. It's about aligning your life so fully with that standard that people can see it without you saying a word. They see it in your discipline. They see it in your effort. They see it in your results. It's visible, undeniable, unquestionable. Every decision, every habit, every action is an opportunity to prove it again and again. To yourself first, because your belief in who you are is the foundation of everything. And then to the world, not for their approval, but as a statement of your standard. You are not average. You don't settle. You don't coast. You don't shrink. Every move you make is a declaration that your life is not going to be lived halfway, that your future is not going to be built on mediocrity, that your legacy is not going to be forgettable. Every decision, every habit, every action declares